I do want to say that the Trump-backed rescissions package passed. This was an act to cut $9 billion of spending, which seemed quite ironic considering that the Trump administration just approved $3 to $4 trillion worth of deficit spending. Um, so I felt like the 9 billion here, especially when it's targeted towards crucial aid that saves millions of lives every year, and towards rural radio stations in states like Alaska, where the demographic populations are spread out at such distances. A lot of times that is the way you get local news. That is the way you get localized information. And we're currently in a local news crisis with 20% of the country living in a place where they can't easily get local news coverage. And so the Trump administration decided those are the areas that we can cut. Now, to be clear, when we talk about the cuts to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting that the Trump administration's been jamming through, the way it's been framed has been around like NPR and PBS, specifically about the partisan nature of NPR and PBS. Now, I will dispute to this day exactly the idea that like NPR is a terribly partisan outlet. Is there a clear lean of the majority of their authors? Yes. Yes, that's true. But that's not to say that the way that they cover is to completely ignore certain stories that are going on because it's inconvenient, to tilt the truth in some way. And I still think that they're, just because like the majority of their authors lean liberal, does not mean that they are in some way partisan in a nature to not be deserving of public funds. And I think the same thing is true for PBS. I think the same thing is true of Sesame Street. I do not believe that Elmo is particularly liberal enough to need defunding. Now, that is where the conversation has been focused, though. But the majority of these cuts are not towards NPR and PBS. The majority of these cuts are going to go towards local news, is going to go towards the places that have been bundled and shipped off to bigger news outlets that control you ever see those videos? These go like super popular every once in a while, where a bunch of local news stations will say the same exact lines, the same exact report. This is dangerous for a democracy. It's been super viral back in the day. I'm like Danabo edit in a clip of it right here. This is not random. This is because local news outlets keep getting bought up by big bundlers, by people who want to control all of this news broadcasting in these areas, this crucial information area. I don't think that's good for local news. I think it kills local news. I think it's better for there to be public finance. Yes, Danabo, you're gonna have to edit that in. Haha, screw you. I think it's much better for us to have public financing of local news, because if we want our democracy to function, information hygiene is of the most importance. Information hygiene is of crucial importance. I would even say it is a national security crisis, how easy it is to trick the public. And that's not to say that the public is stupid, but that's to say with the way people consume social media, just endlessly scrolling, and the way people see something on their feed, and a lot of people assume it, especially if it's something that confirms their pre-existing biases. This is something that's being utilized by bad actors domestically who want to manipulate our democracy, and bad actors internationally who want to manipulate our democracy for their national security interests, even above our own national security interests. And this has to do with both problems when it comes to lower ages of education, where people should be taught, how to like test the source to see if it's halfway decent, how to, find a reliable outlet versus a non-reliable outlet. But also I think it's important like that these outlets have to exist in the first place. There's a lot more money in posting rage bait online than detailed policy proposals about the things that are actually going to affect your daily life. And right now, we haven't figured out a private solution, a market-based solution for this crisis of information hygiene, of public knowledge, and of a lack of access to local news sources for a decent portion of the country. And so these cuts are going to exacerbate that crisis. Is going to exacerbate the crisis. That's not even talking about the fact that a lot of these cuts are going to be targeting childhood education programs that the Corporation for Public Broadcasting was funding, whether it comes to like educational children's programming or otherwise. I mean, do people not remember the Mr. Rogers speech? I mean, if Mr. Rogers was still alive, would these cuts have been approved? That's a genuine question. That's an actual question. Mr. Rogers speaks before Congress. I can't believe I have to bust this out, and that, you know, this is not like Mr. Rogers didn't like end the debate forever. It feels like he maybe should have. Here it is.
Now,
this is when public broadcasting was facing cuts to children's educational broadcasting funding as well, which would have affected programs like Fred Rogers, who is, of course, for those who are not American, a very famous children's entertainer who was in charge of the show Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, which you can Google online if you haven't seen it before. But I assume most people here have.
Mr. Rogers is certainly one of the best things that's ever happened to public television, and his Peabody Award is testament to that fact. We in public television are proud of Fred Rogers, and I'm proud to present Mr. Rogers to you now. Fred.
All right, Rogers, you got the floor.
Senator.
I think I might have slightly misremembered the story. It wasn't because of cuts. It was to get funding for these programs, which are now being cut. So, you know, a lot of times when people talk about the reason they like conservatism is the idea that, you know, a lot of people just want to smash things and create new things because they see problems with the current. But sometimes they end up smashing institutions or ideas or things that are cherishable that were created for a reason. It's important to go back and look for the reasons that they were created. Here's a reason why a lot of this public broadcasting was created.
Pastore. This is a philosophical statement and would take about 10 minutes to read, so I'll not do that.
Occurred is occurred.
One of the first things that a child learns in a healthy family is trust. And I trust what you have said that you will read this. It's very important to me. I care deeply about children. My first children...
Will it make you happy if you read it?
I'd just like to talk about it, if it's all right.
Sir. Okay.
My first children's program was on WQED 15 years ago, and its budget was $30. Now, with the help of the Sears Roebuck Foundation and National Educational Television, as well as all of the affiliated stations, each station pays to show our program. It's a unique kind of funding in educational television. With this help, now our program has a budget of $6,000. It may sound like quite a difference, but $6,000 pays for less than 2 minutes of cartoons, 2 minutes of animated, what I sometimes say, bombardment. I'm very much concerned, as I know you are, about what's being delivered to our children in this country. And I've worked in the field of child development for 6 years now, trying to understand the inner needs of children. We deal with such things as the inner drama of childhood. We don't have to bop somebody over the head to make him, to make drama on the screen. We deal with such things as getting a haircut, or the feelings about brothers and sisters, and the kind of anger that arises in simple family situations. And we speak to it constructively.
How long a program is it?
It's a half hour every day. Most channels schedule it in the noontime as well as in the evening. WETA here has scheduled it in the late afternoon.
Could we get a copy of this so that we can see it? Maybe not today, but I'd like to see the program.
I'd like very much for you
I'd
to
like to see the program itself, or any one of them, you see.
We made 100 programs for EEN, the Eastern Educational Network, and then when the money ran out, people in Boston and Pittsburgh and Chicago all came to the fore and said, we've got to have more of this neighborhood expression of care.
Horgensberg says, I don't care about this. Then get the fuck out of here. Mr. Rogers is speaking. You show respect to this American legend. Get out of here. Mr. Rogers time, okay? And this is Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, okay? And you're not welcome in it.
And this is what I give. I give an expression of care every day to each child to help him realize that he is unique. I end the program by saying, you've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are. And I feel that if we in public television can only make it clear that feelings are mentionable and manageable, we will have done a great service for mental health. I think that it's much more dramatic that two men could be working out their feelings of anger, much more dramatic than showing something of gunfire. I'm constantly concerned about what our children are seeing. And for 15 years, I have tried in this country and Canada to present what I feel is a meaningful expression of care.
Do you narrate it?
I'm the host, yes, and I do all the puppets, and I write all the music, and I write all the scripts.
Well, I'm supposed to be a pretty tough guy, and this is the first time I've had goosebumps for the last 2 days.
Well, I'm grateful not only for your goosebumps, but for your interest in our kind of communication. Could I tell you the words of one of the songs which I feel is very important?
Yes.
This has to do with that good feeling of control, which I feel that children need to know is there. And it starts out, what do you do with the mad that you feel? And that first line came straight from a child. I work with children, doing puppets in very personal communication with small groups. What do you do with the mad that you feel? When you feel so mad you could bite. When the whole wide world seems oh so wrong, and nothing you do seems very right. What do you do? Do you punch a bag? Do you pound some clay or some dough? Do you round up friends for a game of tag or see how fast you go? It's great to be able to stop when you've planned a thing that's wrong and be able to do something else instead and think this song. I can stop when I want to, can stop when I wish, can stop, stop, stop anytime. And what a good feeling to feel like this and know that the feeling is really mine. Know that there's something deep inside that helps us become what we can. For a girl can be someday a lady, and a boy can be someday a man.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. Looks like you just earned the $20 million.
And he did. They did win the funding. And Fred Rogers' testimony was very crucial in the winning of that fund for public broadcasting. The value of public broadcasting should be shouted about from the rooftops, if necessary. Let's read a little bit about the cuts to this public broadcasting. Specifically, I think most importantly to rural radio stations. The Senate approved the measure in small hours Thursday morning. The House approved an earlier version last month, but must vote to adopt the Senate change. You've already voted. It has been approved. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting stand to lose $1.1 billion, meant to fund it through the next 2 years. Well, the bill also cuts $7.9 billion in other programs, CPD acts as a conduit for federal money to NPR, PBS, and their member stations. In a marathon votorama session, senators introduced numerous amendments before ultimately voting 51 to 48 to approve the package that includes cuts to foreign food and health programs, when Senator Minnesota's Tina Smith was not present at the vote due to hospitalization. The Senate vote was largely along party lines, with Democrats voting against the bill and all but 2 Republicans voting for it. The GOP exceptions were Maine's Susan Collins and Alaska's Lisa Murkowski. Now, Lisa Murkowski makes a lot of sense, not only because of her, well, people talk about her independent streak, and, you know, it depends on the day of the week and it depends on the issue, but because Alaska is heavily dependent on rural radio stations. For a lot of these communities that go out into, you know, the deep Alaskan countryside, radio is how they get information in an emergency. Radio is how they get local news information. Radio is the thing that will not be jammed. Radio is the thing that will not be just, you know, it's like, oh, I've lost my radio reception on my phone. You know, your phone, you can lose the signal. On the radio, it's a lot more difficult. Point is, it's very useful out there. And Lisa Murkowski was a staunch opponent of this of these cuts, but they had a large enough Republican Senate majority that it did not matter. It ultimately did not matter. For non-Americans, you have to look at Fred Rogers through the eyes of a child. He was pure good, sad he would be ripped apart by today's Congress. Oh my God, could you imagine Marjorie Taylor Greene talking to Fred Rogers? Mr. Rogers' neighborhood looks a lot like Chaz and Chop to me. What would you like it if, Mr. Rogers, if BLM burned down your... Oh God, I could see it. BLM would burn the trolley, Mr. Rogers. A man like that rising to that prominence today doesn't seem possible. I don't know. In some ways, I feel like somebody like Mr. Rogers might stand out more, because when everybody's yelling, you have somebody go in there with a demeanor like that, it does stick out. And I've seen people go into conversations, like people who are like yellers, and then they get engaged by people like this, and they don't feel like they have anything to bounce off of to like start an outrage, and it really throws them off because all they are is, you know, outrage peddlers. In a statement about the immediately after the vote, NPR CEO Catherine Maher said, nearly 3 in 4 Americans say they rely on their public radio stations for alerts and news for their public safety. We call on the House of Representatives to reject this elimination of public media funding. Depressing, depressing, depressing.
The user, Mako, has said the words, "Hi, we here. Do not know what this means. More at 11.
Thank you for the $5. I don't know. I assume he's just throwing up gang signs towards Dana Bow, just showing like site chat loyalty, I presume.